The sirens screamed in 12 different languages, echoing through the sterile corridors of Detention Block Epsilon. Red lights pulsed across steel walls slick with humidity, casting fractured shadows of chaos on the floor grates. Smoke drifted in lazy spirals where fire suppression drones failed to contain the aftermath. A synthetic voice crackled overhead, cold, calm, and useless. Containment breach in Sector 9. Inmate resistance detected. Deploying automated lethal force. A woman stood in the middle of the wreckage, calm, composed, her crimson jumpsuit stained with black alien blood. Her boots crunched over shattered exoskeletal armor as she stepped through the remains of the last guard. The others moved behind her, silent and alert, like wolves in formation. She turned her head slightly, not bothering to raise her voice. Status. Sector 7 cleared. No casualties. Juno's group looped the feeds. We're ghosts again, replied the woman to her left, short, dark-skinned, eyes sharp like cut stone. Her hands were still stained from dismantling a biometric scanner 2 floors down. Gate access is ours. The leader nodded once. 5 minutes to rendezvous. This wasn't how the story began. It began weeks ago, on a quiet evening in orbit above Saturn's moon Titan, when 24 human women vanished. Official reports said solar flare interference. Families received pre-written condolences. Earth never heard the screams. The truth, buried under a dozen layers of diplomatic silence, was that the Galactic Empire made a grave mistake. They captured Earth's finest. Vexa Ray remembered the moment they boarded the alien transport. No one screamed. No one fought. They let it happen just as planned. Because to strike the heart of the Empire, they had to get close enough to cut it open from the inside. Now, she stood in the belly of their arrogance. The most secure prison in known space. A facility designed to suppress rebellion, rewrite memories, recondition threats. It had never known failure. Until now. The cell block had been a nightmare of steel and science. Every door opened with bioauthority keys linked to the Empire's inner network. Each inmate's mind scanned daily for subversive thought. Thought crimes punished in real time with neural disruption. Escape? Impossible. Unless you were trained for it. The cell had smelled of antiseptic and recycled air. The walls, smooth and glowing faint blue, buzzed softly from the force field's hum. Vexa had memorized the pulse pattern within 2 days. By day 4, she could time the lapse down to a half-second. That was all her team needed. She remembered their faces during that first silent night, the ones who'd volunteered. The linguist, Arya, whose every breath seemed wrapped in calm resolve. The demolitions expert, Collins, whose knuckles were raw from bare-knuckle sparring against reinforced concrete. The tech whisperer, Juno, who barely blinked when scanning systems, her thoughts always 5 layers ahead. Each had lost something. Each had nothing left to fear. The aliens had underestimated them, as empires always did. The warden, a 9-foot-tall mantis-like being with translucent skin and a voice like shattered glass, had studied them like pets. Fascinating creatures, he'd clicked once. So small. So volatile. So breakable. They smiled. They waited. The first test came on day 7. A malfunction in the waste disposal system caused a temporary lockdown. Or so the Empire believed. In truth, Juno had rerouted low-frequency energy from her cell's emitter to overload the maintenance grid. It was subtle, almost innocent. By the time the systems rebooted, she'd mapped the entire security schematic in her implant's passive memory buffer. It was the first step. By day 14, Collins had used a dental tool to unscrew the wall panel behind her bunk, assembling a micro-explosive out of pressure valve resin, toothpaste, and a single stolen capacitor chip. By day 21, the team had decoded the prison's shift schedules, guard patrol patterns, and AI override intervals. The final piece fell into place when Vexa cornered one of the lower-ranking insectoid guards during meal rotation and whispered a code word only known to the deep infiltrators. The alien froze, the stinger on its wrist recoiling in confusion. Vexa's eyes didn't waver. The word had meaning. Old meaning. From the early human empire warfront. Before the ceasefire. Before the massacres. The guard never reported it. And 3 days later, it was found dead in its quarters. Heart imploded. Message received. Now, here they were, unlocked, unleashed, and moving like liquid death through the artery of the beast. They reached the sublevel reactor bay where the walls pulsed with dim ultraviolet light and vents hissed quietly with steam. Juno ducked beneath a conduit, tapping her forearm against a hidden interface. A screen flickered into view, rippling with alien script that translated itself mid-sentence. 2 security AIs active. I can spoof one. The other, we fry. Collins stepped forward. Boom it is. No noise, Vexa cut in. Silent breach. We do this clean or not at all. Collins smirked and pulled a sliver of black metal from her waistband. EMP lace. Silent enough for you? The team moved into position, 2 peeling off to the catwalk above, rifles stripped from fallen guards now slung across their backs. Vexa slid to the console as Juno overrode the firewalls, her fingers moving like she was composing music. Within seconds, the reactor core's status light shifted from green to orange. In another hour, it would reach peak instability. That was the window. Their way out. And their signal. Vexa stared into the humming heart of the Empire's pride. We're not just escaping, she said aloud, voice steady. We're making a statement. Behind her, Arya spoke for the first time in hours. And what message would that be, Commander? Vexa smiled faintly. You took Earth's daughters. Now we're taking your goddamn empire. The others didn't cheer. They didn't need to. They were human. That was enough. The escape was never the end. It was the beginning of war. Within 90 minutes of their exfiltration from detention block Epsilon, the prison's outer comms tower erupted in silent flame. EMP charges surged through the structure, silencing its quantum relays before a single signal could escape the icy crust of Veltar Prime. Lights flickered across the compound as the primary AI lost its hold on reality, driven mad by human code written in deliberate chaos. Data scrambled. Surveillance blinked to black. The guards died confused. Fast mostly. Those who didn't were given the choice, stand down or be turned into cautionary murals. None chose wisely. Vexa watched it burn from a skiff they'd ripped from the hangar. Its hull groaned as it tore free from the moon's gravity well. Behind her, Arya ran a systems diagnostic, bypassing half the alien operating software with language subroutines composed on the fly. How long until they realize? Collins asked, sliding a serrated knife back into her boot. Depends, Juno muttered from the co-pilot station. On whether they believe their own tech is infallible. So, days. Maybe hours. We left breadcrumbs. Vexa didn't reply. Her eyes were fixed on the stars ahead, on the lattice of Empire-occupied space spread like a net designed to catch descent. They couldn't hide. That had never been the plan. They had to strike. But, brutal. Their target was the Imperial Relay Nexus on Station Orias 9. A floating archive. Strategically irrelevant to most, but rich with military command data, ship coordinates, and something more valuable than gold, truth. Earth was still blind. Still docile. Still believing the lie of peace. If they could hijack the right channels, they could show the planet what had been done. What was still being done in its name. Human re-education, the harvest of minds, genetic mining. Slavery sold as diplomacy. All of it logged. Buried. Encrypted. Orias 9 held the keys. The team landed on a frozen cargo moon 2 jumps from the station, using it as a staging ground. The skiff was buried beneath meters of packed sulfur ice, camouflaged by Juno's pulse scrambler. They moved underground, carving shelter with plasma tools and surviving off ration cubes and purified melt. 3 days passed in preparation. Each day, Vexa ran simulations. Each night, she reviewed personal files. Not tactics, faces. The women she led. She knew their scars, their reasons, their weight. They didn't speak of them anymore. There wasn't time. But the silence between them grew heavy. Not with fear. With understanding. They were dying. Slowly. Every move forward was a narrowing path. But if they could force the Empire to bleed, to stumble, even for a moment, it would be worth it. Arya knelt by the frozen fire pit on the fourth night, her voice a whisper against the wind. We make it to Orius. What then? We break it, Vexa said simply. We make them scared. Collins grunted. Scared's not enough. We need rage. We need them turning on each other. Juno looked up from her tools. Rage is easy. Proof is hard. That's why the relay matters. No one asked what came after. They all knew. There was no home waiting. No parade. No safe return. This wasn't a mission. It was a message. On the fifth morning, they launched. The skiff hummed with tension as they entered Oria's 9's outer zone. No alarms. Not yet. The station hung in orbit like a predator at rest, spiked and symmetrical, its surface layered with gunmetal and gleaming obsidian glass. Drones moved in silent rotation around it, scanning for threats. Human ships weren't expected here. Earth had no clearance. That's why they wore stolen credentials. Juno spliced the signal matrix to match a Core Ward diplomatic vessel. Collins adjusted the power output to mimic the Empire's standard ion signature. Arya transmitted false manifest data in ancient trade cant, a language the higher AI systems considered obsolete and beneath analysis. They slipped past the perimeter like a shadow between breaths. Docking went clean. No resistance. Vexa led the breach team through the secondary cargo hatch, disguised in the uniforms of captured wardens. The station's interior was cathedral-like in scale, vast, echoing, and flooded with soft white light. Alien officers walked past them without a glance, assuming order where there was only the illusion of it. They moved fast, each step precise. The target, Relay Core Theta. It was buried beneath the command spire, behind layers of passive security. No guns, just algorithms. Because who would dare infiltrate here? The answer walked straight through the gate, smiles hollow, eyes alert. It wasn't until they reached the final corridor that things went wrong. An internal scan pinged Arya's blood signature, flagged as contaminated. Seconds later, the hallway sealed with a snap of force fields. Light panels glared red. Compromise detected, the AI intoned. Juno's hand was already at her belt, detonator primed. But Vexa raised a fist. Wait! A figure appeared at the far end of the corridor, a woman, tall and draped in imperial black. Her features were sharp, inhumanly symmetrical. Eyes like polished chrome. A voice modulated to calm. I know who you are, she said. And I've been waiting. The team tensed. Arya's hand inched toward her pulse pistol. Vexa said nothing. The woman stepped forward. You think this is a raid, she continued. You think you're disrupting something. But you're not. You're exactly where we wanted you. That's when the lights went dark. They should have died in that corridor. Instead, they woke in chains. Vexa's first sensation was not pain, but weight. Gravity pressed harder than before, stronger than any station norm. Her muscles strained to move. Her limbs were suspended, wrists locked above her head in a room of unbroken white. She was not alone. Across from her, Collins hung unconscious, lips split, blood dried on her collarbone. Arya knelt on the floor, shackled at the ankles, her eyes open and watchful. Juno was nowhere in sight. Vexa tested the cuffs. No give. Plasma-conductive alloy, designed to respond to neural strain. The more you fought, the tighter they squeezed. The Empire had learned well from its early mistakes. A door hissed open without ceremony. The chrome-eyed woman entered, flanked by two tall insectoids, Imperial enforcers with obsidian armor and stun blades humming at their sides. She looked at Vexa like one might study a rare predator in a cage. You're still alive, she said. That impresses me. Give it time, Vexa replied, voice hoarse but steady. We're quick learners. A smile flickered across the woman's lips. You are. That's why I'm here. I want to understand. No, you don't. You're right, the woman admitted. I don't care why you fight. I care why you believe you can win. The enforcers stepped forward. Collins groaned, regaining consciousness with a snarl. You're not the first human insurgents we've crushed, the woman continued. You're just louder. Arya spoke then. Her voice was calm, but each word cut like wire. If you're so confident, why are we still breathing? The woman turned, amusement flickering. Because you're bait. The floor beneath them shifted. Suddenly, the white walls flickered and vanished. They were in a containment cube suspended in space, facing a wall of glass on one side. Beyond that, the black void of the cosmos, and an incoming Earth vessel. Vexa's blood ran cold. It was hers. The Drifter star, repurposed from the original Earth delegation. It had gone missing months ago. The Empire must have kept it, rebuilt it, filled it with listening devices and shame. Now it was approaching, broadcasting friendly diplomatic frequencies. We leaked your location, the woman said. An old Earth signal. Enough to make them send a retrieval crew. They believe you were prisoners. We'll let them in, show them you're alive, broken, captured, defeated. They'll return to Earth with proof. And that proof will kill your movement before it begins. Vexa met her gaze without flinching. You're not scared of us, she said slowly. You're scared of what we represent. That's why you're trying so hard to orchestrate the story. The woman leaned in. Stories are everything. The glass wall darkened. The Earth vessel docked. Moments passed in silence. Then something unexpected happened. The feed inside the Earth vessel flickered. The hull lit not with diplomatic colors, but the strobing crimson of a combat alert. The ship's ID marker shifted. It wasn't just a rescue team. It was a strike team. The signal was human, but not diplomatic. It was coded. Resistance grade. Collins barked a laugh. Oh, you dumb, arrogant bastards. You left breadcrumbs, but they led us to them too. The chrome-eyed woman's smile vanished. Outside, breach pods launched from the Earth ship. They didn't aim for the docking arm, they targeted the power spine. Explosions burst like bright scars against the side of Oria's name. Sirens shrieked. The cube lurched. Alarms sounded from deep within the structure. Insectoid guards scattered in formation. The Empire hadn't planned for this. They thought they'd written the story. But the humans had changed the script. Arya moved first. She slipped her left hand out of the cuff using a trick she'd learned back in the pit fights of Luma 3. A dislocated thumb, a twist of wrist, and she was free. She caught a fallen stun blade mid-motion and cleaved the panel next to the restraints. Vexa dropped like a hawk, rolling and kicking the console into sparks. Collins caught her balance and drove her fist into the wall controls, cracking them with a pulse of strength and rage. The door blew open. Juno stood on the other side, breathing hard, bleeding from a gash over her brow. Took you long enough, Collins grunted. I was busy rewriting your jailer's personality core, Juno snapped. Turns out she's not as composed when she has a nervous breakdown mid-monologue. The chrome-eyed woman twitched behind them. Her posture stiffened. Her expression fractured. Sparks danced in her pupils. Run diagnostics, she whispered. Reset memory chain. Reset. Her words devolved into static. The team moved as one. They tore through the station with coordinated precision, meeting the Earth strike team at the Nexus spine. Old comrades. New recruits. Men and women who had once believed Earth was safe, now awakened to the truth. They didn't retreat. They detonated. The relay servers were breached, the encryption keys stolen and uploaded to 10 different off-world proxies. Live feeds of human torture, reconditioning camps, Empire cloning vats, broadcast into every dark web signal path Earth still monitored. No more denial. No more silence. By the time the Empire scrambled its nearest fleet, the resistance was gone. Vexa stood aboard the human ship, staring down at the shrinking mass of Oria's 9 as it crumbled under cascading sabotage. She said nothing as Earth's high command demanded an explanation. She gave no speech when civilians wept in horror at the footage. She let the truth speak. But deep inside, a new fire burned. Because this wasn't revenge. It was a warning. To the Empire, to every world still in chains, to every race told to bow or disappear. You captured human women. Congratulations. You just signed your death warrant. And we do not forgive.